I love doing promos. I love seeing the guys, come in kind of nervous on, week one or week two, and then watch it, in a year, and they're just like, don't even have to think about it. They don't even want to do a straight promotion. They have a whole theatrical idea that they want to do, like stuff like that. It's like, oh, this is great. Yeah, let's do that. And, coming in, there are days coming into that arena where everybody's cooking, man. It's just like, Mama's putting a shirt together, and one of the guys has made a pamphlet for his cult. One of the guys is talking about his entrance idea. And it's like, and like just something like, man, everybody's cooking. This is great. This is like so much fun. It's such a creative environment. And, and it's a creative sport. It's like arguably the most creative sport. So it's fantastic. And it's just an honor, man.
And welcome to another episode of the Project Get to Know podcast. My name is Emmanuel. As you can see, we have someone who I've been needing to get, but the stars aligned. Here we are, Mac Monday over at AAPW as one of the commentators. Thank you so much for having you on.
Yes, the big star has aligned. Let's get this on.
There you go. So, because being a commentator is one thing, but let's go start to being a fan. And let's do the moment that you realized the commentary really took over a match, even though there's two guys in the ring, but the commentary filled in those gaps to make that moment special.
Yeah, I have always been a big fan of the commentary. But always, I guess even as a commentator, I always like when the commentators are getting involved in some sort of small way. Early WCW, I can always think like Bobby the Brain Heenan was the weasel, mm-hmm. And when they were doing the early NWO stuff too, and like the way he his alliance to WCW starts to switch over to NWO just because he knows they're taking over. He's just like he starts, so, well, maybe they're not that bad, and then every time they'd come to the booth, every time that Scott Hall and a Big Sexy would come to the booth, and like you just hear Bobby the Brain be like, "Whoa!" And by the time they turned the mic to him, Bobby the Brain was just like running away. Like he wouldn't even just stand to the side like the other guys would do. He would just run for his life because he had to. I always thought that was
threatened too.
Always threatened, yeah. And then of course, like JR's commentary on the Hell in the Cell match. It's the moment that Mick hits that table, man. It's by God, he's broken him in half. He's dead. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And the King and JR are big influences on Mac, obviously. I kind of think of it as an amalgamation of King and the JR.
Yeah, because I think even as a viewer, like just watching commentary, and of course, people in the venue, let's go as a fan first, but to watch TV. And for you to see a moment like that, what was it like to really be immersed yourself in a match with the matches and as well as the commentary telling the story on a match in particular?
I mean, at AAPW, it's, as like a color commentator, I go out of my way to, not learn the matches beforehand. Not that, not to say they're turned out or anything, but I really go out of my way to not know anything before I go into a match. Because this color commentary, I want to have the most natural reaction to it. And the best ones I have is when I take off my headphones and look to everybody else to be like, is this right? And I'll get, because I the other joke is I'll call myself Mark Monday, because just to keep myself as that headset as a mark, it's my job to be a mark, So, the last time I really got good on that was Michael Arrow. It was that hair match.
Michael Arrow and was that? Was it Lincoln Fury? Was it that
Lincoln?
One?
Yes. Sorry, Lincoln.
Okay,
Lincoln,
yes, I wanted to make sure.
Yes, Lincoln Fury. And Michael Arrow are good friends, and I think he's lost the last 2 hair matches he's been in.
That's right. The streak ended too.
Yeah, I just expected that. And so when that happened, I thought something wrong had happened. I was immediately just looking around at everybody being like, is this wrong? We're cutting off the afro? We're losing the afro now? And those kind of moments are that's when it's most fun for me is, because I try to put myself as much as the audience, as the voice of the audience, essentially. The unelected voice of the man.
Like, where did that come from, by the way? Because I heard that from some of the commentary. Where did that come from?
What, me just being the voice of the people?
Yeah, exactly. I heard that and I was like, I haven't even thought of that. But like, was that something that you had to improv, or you're like, you know what, this is gonna be what I'm gonna be
That's
known
probably
for?
I mean everything I'm doing is 90% improv for sure.
Ugh,
Which is a lot of fun for me. It's how I work best. I'm not really a
okay.
good actor in any sort of way, and I'm not good at learning lines, and I'm bad at remembering information, but I'm good at being funny on the fly. So
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, the unelected voice of the people is definitely something that Mac would have deemed himself as.
Because of course, like pops putting you on the team. Like, where did that relationship start from?
Well, Bob's is, which I love working over at AAPW. It's the first place I've worked. It's pretty much the only place I've worked. Um, Pops needs production over there, and I came in and I learned about AAPW during lockdown. And man, if I had known about wrestling school when I was 18 years old, I would have gone.
Mm.
But by the time I go, I'm 40. So I'm like, I'm aware I'm not going to make the cut. Even if I do go the distance, I'm not going to go that far. And also, I mean, in general, I don't like pain, so it's not like I'm not really made for the sport that well. And so I started working back when I guess Greenback had just started working in production too, R.I.P.
Okay.
And he needed people, and I didn't even think about doing Mac at first. I just started as myself. And I think I did one episode, and I was just like, I am not doing that again. I do not like doing it. I'm not good at doing it. And it finally kind of dawned on me to do it as a character. And that's really the only way I could do anything anyways.
Oh,
Like, it's rare I do, a straight interview, like even as myself. It's just so much easier for me to play a character. Because then you could embellish and brag and then be all those things that you would normally not be okay with as yourself. And so I stepped in as Mac. And it was simple at that point. Like, once I brought in Mac as a character, and the character is based off of I used to have a movie night years ago at this place called Hard Luck Lounge, and I made a commercial. It's like a car salesman commercial. I was like, "You like movies? You like beer? Kind of thing." And so I just based him off that character, and I originally called that guy Max Monday, so it just became his cousin Mac Monday, his car selling cousin Mac Monday. So that's how it came around.
Yeah, because it's kind of cool too. When did you start finally getting commentary? Because oftentimes commentary is a very, very niche production in any wrestling capacity. When we'll start with you first as yourself doing commentary, when did that finally click? And then when did Mac Monday took over and you got how to do commentary as the years go by at AAPW?
I mean, like I said, not like sound braggadocious or anything, but once I turned on Mac, it was on, and I felt like it clicked. I don't even think he's progressed that much as a character in 4 years. He's pretty much the same guy, same POS. And he gets to be that way. I find that I really kind of built him as a heel, but he's not always a heel. He just kind of ends up liking what he likes. Eric and I try not to step on each other's toes too often. Just have a little conflict in the booth so we can step on each toes as characters, but he just kind of like is, he tends to like swindlers. So, he's a bit of a huckster himself. So if there's a cult involved, he's usually somehow involved in that cult pretty easily. He's like first guy to join the cult. And then I think, once you're there at a school or a promotion, because I don't know, when you go to a promotion for the first time, it's kind of intimidating because there's people that have been around and, everybody's got multiple names you have to remember. And, sometimes there's clicks and there's also all sorts of things that are happening. So I don't know, like once you're in a place for like a year or so, you start to feel like it's more home. You start to be more comfortable. And for me, this will be my 4th year come December. And at that point, now I'm seeing like cycles of kids come through too. And so they just know me as being there, already as the same way I came in. So I think, probably around a year is when you start to get really comfortable with it.
Oh, that's good. Because, like, especially because you mentioned You had JR and the King and Bobby the Brain Heenan were those influences with things that you do as a fan. When did you make that identity as your own while still having those nods to those three commentators when you do commentate over to APW?
Yeah, I think once I started kind of leaning out his outfits a little more, like to go to his style.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Because, it was, I'm trying to think of the governor now. What's his name? My names aren't great. No, I'm sorry, not the governor, the wrestler, the announcer.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Body Ventura. Yeah. So, Ventura.
What the fuck? I broke.
Sorry. Yeah, I really model myself after Governor Abbott. We'll not get into Governor Abbott. So it's like originally I was like pretty straightforward in the country look kind of thing. And then I found myself leaning more into the Jesse the Body look where it just gets more and more ridiculous kind of every time he's on screen. I've had cornrows in my hair, a leopard skin jacket with no shirt underneath. Like anybody wants to see that. And that's when I thought the character really started to become more of closer to me even than it was Mac. It's like I just felt like I started to merge more comfortably into who I was, and those two characters that is myself and Mac Monday kind of merged into kind of one simple thing. The joke I made with Eric was I think Mac Monday is going to be going through a midlife crisis, kind of thing. And he's like, yep. And I was like, well, because I'm going through a midlife crisis, so I'm just like, I need that to align. It's going to be easier for me to do that.
Oh my, because like it's kind of cool because I think having this like larger than life character, and it is in the level of how big the wrestling scene is and the show is. How do you turn to 100 when a show starts?
Well, that's another good thing about Mac. He doesn't have to be at 100.
Okay.
He's sometimes just getting woken up, like right as he's showing up. I'm sure like Mac had a long night the night before, usually, kind of thing. But doing that opening, that we do that cold opening in the ring before the time starts, and just like as soon as that camera's on you, you're gonna want to start yelling, and it's just easier to do that way too.
Right.
The bigger you are, the better it is. Sometimes when I'm really getting in some weird or dark places, or making fun of Eric or whatever it is, like, really lean into the microphone like that. But most of the time I'm yelling Humdinger, as loud as I can. Yeah. And speaking of like getting into it, like I said Humdinger like one night, and one of the kids at the arena was just like, came back saying that to me the next week.
Nice. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. And I was like, I got a catchphrase. Like, there it is. It's something I could tie myself to.
Yeah. Because I think also, because you mentioned having like the catchphrases and having these moments for you as a commentator. And before we even delve with working with Eric, what is your favorite moment throughout your time commentating at AAPW? And you can include Eric riffing with you, or a moment just caught you by surprise. What will be that moment for you as a commentator?
We had a fun one the other day. It was such a great match. It was like our hardcore one of the year. Everything's a gimmick, Yeah. And we're waiting on the cage to go up. And I have this joke because Mac Monday loves hot dogs so much that he loves Mama. Her Mama works the snack shack.
Okay.
So we had a moment of like trying to promote the snack shack. Again, it doesn't have much to do with wrestling at all. But I went into the snack shack to do an interview as we're waiting for the cage to go up. And I asked Mama to marry me. And within a moment, she didn't hesitate to say yes. And I thought for sure the answer would be, get the hell out of my kitchen, Mac. And so it became this giant celebration for Mac at that point that he was getting married to Mama. And again, it's like stuff that's just like buying time like that is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But the boys up there too at AAPW make it so easy to do commentary. An easy night is like a super easy night because if they're hitting and they're doing good, and they're picking up when they mess up, and like it's all just like cake up there. And I can't remember the last time we had a really hard night. I know we've had long nights, but it's those kids at the school are great.
I think working with Eric has been, because he's on the episode on here on the podcast, and he's done that type of commentary back when he was in San Diego. And for you to guys work here in AAPW, and of course it's almost like, and you mentioned where you're not really crossing any borders, but rather how do you guys work together? Because Eric is the straight shooter. He is he's the Michael Cole, and you're Taz. In that situation, what would be that type of working dynamic that really makes commentary an important part of an AAPW show?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, like Mac has to have like a straight man. Like he is just, I'm too off the wall, like to not be working with a straight man. And I didn't know, Eric from Adam, when he started to come up. I just don't know anything about the podcast world that much, except for a few of you guys. And so he was brought up as an idea. And my first question, I was like, can we work together? Like, I was like, does it work? Like, I mean, first night out, it snapped right into place for us.
Oh, that's
so cool. I was like, yeah. And he brings numbers to the game, but it's like, I didn't know about Rooster Teeth at all. I didn't know about any of that. That's just not my world. But yeah, he's a hoot to work with, I make that joke all the time of Eric being Mac Monday's best friend, in the sense too that probably Mac didn't have a lot of best friends, and Eric has spent 2 hours with him every couple weeks a month, and I mean, but that joke also just forms from the fact I didn't have a clue who Eric was,
So he's just I would say he's just there during a night, and you're like, all right, I guess I'm working with Eric.
Yeah, I mean, our producer at the time was a big fan of his and knew him and started seeing him in the audience. I'm sure he told you the story, and eventually came to him to see if he'd be interested. And I was working with another friend of mine at the time, and so Eric came in, and I was told who he was, but again, even I just okay, like, all right, does it work? Yeah. And unfortunately now we're best friends, and he'll be best man at my wedding with Mama, unbeknownst to him.
It's a full circle moment at this point in our episode.
Yeah.
Because what's cool too is when you don't have Eric for like a couple of shows, how did you adapt to whether you're doing things solo or if someone who's filling in? How did you adapt to those situations when Eric's either off on his own time off or anything like that?
Well, this will be next Saturday. So next Saturday I'll be doing it by myself, and I usually bring like a line of the kids in, like a bunch of the wrestlers will come and like sit in for a match. But I thought I have to do way more play by play than I'm usually comfortable with, but I don't mind doing that. And then I just talk about how much I miss Eric the whole time, And it depends,
I'm doing the work. I'm doing all the work because he's not here.
As he's not here. I mean, the joke is Mac does all the work anyways, but that's a straight lie.
He's carrying the personality.
He carries the whole production. Yeah, everything. I mean, Eric does so much up there, man. Eric, since he's been there, he's done so much.
In terms of the show, you're like, Mac is carrying the show tonight, but of course, behind the scenes, it's a whole different situation.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, that's the joke. Yeah. So we'll see. Like this Saturday, I'm sure I'll just bring in, and I probably won't settle this till we get there on Saturday, and I'll just see who's on the bill, see who's not, and then start going through to see who wants to jump in on matches. I doubt we'll have somebody permanent. Every now and then you get a younger kid that wants to do more or wants to be in production kind of thing. We'll try that. But it's tough. It's pretty cutthroat. It's it's live, So it's you're kind of just thrown to the wolves. So if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, you just trudge through. It certainly ain't going to be the worst thing.
Because I think one thing that and this is probably out of every wrestling scene at this point in Texas is, and we're going with this, Pico and Bull Madrid for the wrestling championship.
Man.
Run that through us, because I think that match was maybe like a minute tops.
I think it was like 5 seconds. Yeah, I think it was like 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. But to have that moment, and of course, you were trying to really see how the match is going. Yeah. When that spear happened, what was going through your mind at that point?
I mean, that's one of those that you then kick the chair out and grab the mic, and you're just
Yeah.
screaming. You're just screaming, and that was like genuinely like one of the most exciting matches we had seen up there in a long time. And just the way it ran, and that was a long night too. And so there was
Ah,
definitely a
I
part of me. I
see.
was like, this is going to be a longer night now. Like, and Pico, like, I mean, what like you want to talk about like just giving it to the guy, like he really knew how to take it and nail it. That leap into
Yeah.
into the spear, it was so beautifully executed, man. And like for me, it's always about the guys that can take. It's all about. That's always my favorite wrestlers too. So I mean, it was. I mean, it's how can you say like a 5-second match is that exciting? It was the best of the night. Like they stole the night with a single move. You know, the
Yeah.
squash match can sometimes just be dumb as hell, but man, when it is on, it is on. And that
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
it was so on. It was great.
Because I
Love
was
that
watching
match.
the live stream and I did hear the scream, and I'm like, what would Max see? I'm like, oh, there it is. Because like I was watching it on the live stream at the time, and I'm
Yeah.
like, huh, that was so quick. I hear like a distant yell from the mic, and I'm like, oh, there's Mac, there's Eric,
That's me.
there it is. Like it's very authentic. Because oftentimes, like when you have moments like that, you're supposed to be like super enthusiastic and genuine because you never know what's going to happen in a match.
That's Mark Monday right there, man. That's like I don't know what's gonna happen in a match. So it's like and as much as I love wrestling and I love the behind the scenes stuff, I know it's better for me as a commentator to just stay clueless
Yeah.
up till it happens. And it's genuine enthusiasm from me. Unless I'm really trying to help something get over, that like another favorite thing of wrestling for me is as as you become, less of a mark and more of a, insider fan, you see when stuff doesn't work or when stuff goes
Mhm.
wrong, right? And like again, we're at school, so it's like these kids, this is their like test, as they're
Mhm.
doing these things, they're doing these big matches, and everybody wants to lay out a match how they think it's going to go, but human beings we're terrible predictors of the future. It's like it's
Right.
impossible, and so it's all about rolling with the punches. So when something misses or goes wrong, there's part of a commentator where you'd be like, well, he didn't get 100% of that, kind of thing, where you're just like you're putting over the moves still, even though it didn't work, but then watching them recalculate and re-go kind of thing. And a fan will never see it, when it's done right. They'll never, ever see it. They won't even
Mhm.
think about it. And then when the kids do it, and you see them like, you see somebody get flustered by like losing what they had planned out. And you just don't see it up at AAPW much anymore. I think the kids really, really, really roll with it really well. But I mean, honestly, for as a fan, that's one of my favorite parts of wrestling is watching something not work properly and then them trying to figure out how to make it work. And then me as a commentator also putting it over still, but not just trying to dismiss it. Like still just being like, well, I don't think they got exactly what they wanted out of that, or which I think I learned from Tony Schiavone. Watching him, he would say, he would say stuff like that. Not just try to blanket over the move, and then just keep rolling with it. So yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the point, man. It's all about just literally rolling with the punches. Yeah.
What was it like to be in those moments as a commentator? Oftentimes, like the students over at APW, they're there for a match, but for you to be part of those moments, what was that notion like to say, okay, I'm doing commentary for this match at this time?
I mean, I'm like very thankful to have my little spot up there. Like I like I said, if I could have my way, I'd be in the ring. Uh, but I'm just too damn old, and I don't like getting hurt. Um, you have to be a bit of a sadomasochist a little bit for the
Yeah.
sport. Um, but I mean, I'm just so thankful to be there. I love being a part of that school. I love working with those kids. I love being with those kids. I love talking character.
Hmm.
Help coming up with ideas, helping like throw things on, like or like entrances, or like I love when they come in with their new costumes and talk to them about their new uniform outfits. Costumes are gonna sound like a play. Um, I mean, it's a real pleasure,
Hmm.
it's a real pleasure just to be a part of the machine at all, and the community is pretty wonderful, man. In general, I rarely meet somebody I dislike, and if they do dislike me, I'll be like, You're going to like me. You're going to like me at some point. I'm going to get to you, which doesn't always work, man. I've had people straight dislike me. But I thought the community is just fantastic. I love the school. I love working Pops and Juan. I think they're doing some really amazing stuff up there. It's unique. It's scrappy. I think the teachers up there are amazing. So I don't know, to get to come in and just do my little part, and it's something that just comes naturally to me. Like it doesn't feel like work at all, So yeah, I'm very thankful.
Yeah, because a lot of the guys do approach you on if they have questions or not. What was it like just being like at least the guy who's the advisor, the consultant on some things while they're trying to figure out what to do?
They say, I always tell them anyways, it's like, well, take my advice or don't. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Because, we're all fans up there, we're all students of the sport in our own way. So discussing moves, discussing, catchphrases, helping with promotions. I love doing promos. I love seeing the guys, come in kind of nervous on, week 1 or week 2, and then watch them, in a year, and they're just like, don't even have to think about it. They don't even want to do a straight promotion. They have a whole theatrical idea that they want to do, like stuff like that.
That's cool.
It's like, oh, this is great. Yeah, let's do that. And coming in, there are days coming into that arena where everybody's cooking, man. It's just like, Mama's putting a shirt together, and one of the guys has made a pamphlet for his cult, and one of the guys is talking about his entrance idea, and it's like, and like just something like, man, everybody's cooking. This is great. This is like so much fun. Such a creative environment, and and it's a creative sport. It's like arguably the most creative sport. So it's fantastic, and it's just an honor, man. It's just an honor. Even those guys would even think about me in such a way to ask questions every now and then.
What was the advice that you would always give them? That's constant through each of the students over at AAPW. What would be that one wisdom for you to say? This is what I can share.
Roll with the punches is a big one. Okay. Always don't get too caught up. Don't try to predict too much. And then there's always another match,
Yeah.
I know they're working so hard out there, man, and have somebody be just frustrated as hell when something doesn't go their way. It's like, it's fine, man. You're going to be doing this in another week or two. There's other promotions, And even like at AAPW, because it's a school, the idea is to get those guys through the school, help on all those things they're working on, and then get them out, send them out all over Texas, send them all over the country. And so a lot of them are just like, they want to do they want to be the Undertaker, like immediately, like you have to, you have to go through you have to go do the crap first to be the Undertaker. Even the Undertaker's the most ridiculous character ever.
Yep.
Like they let him be the American badass after that, because that was more like him, as a character. But you don't get that. You don't get to jump to being the American badass. You have to do the silliest thing ever that your promoter wants you to do, and that's fine. Just do it. Do it great, Like take something really difficult, or not even just something you think is stupid, and get that over. Right. That's training, man. That's work. Like that's the good stuff right there in wrestling. It's like, when Kane was like, what, the dentist, like when he's working at WCW. God, not that he got that over, man, but he's out there working it. He's out there trying it, and you're just not going to be at the end spot immediately. So
there's something about characters that take time for it to grow. Seeing from the commentary desk and viewing their matches, it takes a while for them to really be at their best. And like some of the guys who are guests here on the show, like they started somewhere, and now we're seeing them get belts, whether it's in the singles division or the women's or the tag division. It all starts there at AAPW.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Listening to the crowd, that's a big one. It's like really, really trying to understand what works, not trying to tell people what works. Try to hear and feel and see what works. Like, because I think there's pretty much 3 main pillars of wrestling. That's like ability, crowd work, and character. And not everybody's going to have all 3. Some have more than the other. Some have way less than the other. But if you work on those 3, especially ability first, not everybody needs even ability. You see wrestlers
John Cena.
Yeah, doesn't even learn to run the ropes right. Also, shout out to Peacemaker too, though. It's been a great season so far.
But just at that, with that point, I'm like, yeah, John Cena. But the thing is, I was going to mention because like John Cena, he has the charisma and personality
Yeah.
and the ability to really get the crowd over. But technicals, I mean, he's working now because he's retiring, but I digress.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, you don't need all three all the way. But, you can't just have ability, You get your, like, ricochets or stuff like that. You're just like, what a brilliant wrestler he is, but just can't get over on a promo.
Yeah.
It'll just cut your knees off. And I'm like, I'm not in any way talking trash to Ricochet because he is absolutely amazing wrestler. But I think all three of those pillars are what get you there. You're having a lot of talent in all of them, not just one or the other or just two.
I was going to ask this because I think because you have done some extensive work with AAPW, has any other promotions reached out to you and saying, hey, you want to try out blank for a show that month? Or you're more accustomed to what AAPW is doing?
I mean, I'm comfortable with AAPW, and I've gotten to know more of the Texas Indie Pro crowd. I've done some stuff with the Slam Portal, which is fun stuff. That's more like theatrical, but I think that stuff's way fun. I might do a management thing with them. I haven't really talked to Dad Bod about it yet. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really reached out much to the other guys to even work with them. And I really, Mac's a lot too. Like it's hard for me to just slip in with somebody else. And even doing announcing over at Slam Portal, I was like, they're missing one of their three people, but I get there and I'm like, oh, you're all three color. Like you're all three good.
Oh,
like,
that's right. Because
it's just all jokes.
Yeah, it's all riffs, and I'm like, I mean, nothing wrong. Again,
it works. It totally works.
Yeah, it's just there. It works. Yeah,
it's just not the traditional one or the other. So I slip in with them, and I found myself doing play-by-play. Yeah, it does. It does. But yeah, it's definitely, and they're working all improv too. So
yeah,
I had a lot of fun. But I love cracking jokes, obviously. But I found myself doing more play-by-play. With them because I don't think they know any play-by-play, but they know they love wrestling and they know they love being funny, and it works with Slam Portal really well,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It's kind of cool to know that like wrestling does have its flavor and even commentary on its own. Like I mentioned, like especially back in the Attitude Era, completely different style compared to what's happening in the modern era of wrestling because tastes change. And it's funny you mentioned Slam Portal, where it's like joke after joke after joke, but then it works with the crowd because they're listening. I'm the one laughing whenever there's a joke and there's a spot. Like I'm starting to get how they're doing things, but each promotion will have its different flavors and tastes that it won't be with anyone, but rather it'll work for some people to enjoy what wrestling really is.
I agree. And like, I mean, they come from that PWR crowd.
And that's one.
I mean, it's just like, I think we missed the era, but they're still around. The PWR, I mean, the first one I saw, because I was kind of like on a 20-year hiatus for wrestling doing music.
Yeah.
The longest time. So pretty much the moment that WCW and WF owns WCW to the COVID WrestleMania, I had this massive gap in my wrestling knowledge. I grew up watching the Carries on the Von Erichs on my mom's wooden television, my grandma's wooden television. And I went all the way up to that era and then I stopped and then I found it again during lockdown. And I was like, oh, this was my life. This was like, I was doing backyard wrestling videos and, and we weren't violent kids even. We were just like into character, like we just loved storylines. We were just a bunch of idiots in the backyard with a camera. But it came back and I was like, this was like one of the most important things in my first 20 years of my life. And so to come back with it, it's like, it feels very much like I'm a kid in a candy shop again,
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, PWR was like, had this big era. So I kind of missed this era of when they were doing the bars. And I had a lady friend that was always going and talking about it. And I was just like, I'm playing music right now. I'm like, I don't care about wrestling anymore. But I finally got to work a show as security at the last brewery they used to work at before that ended. And I had my back to the audience, just kind of doing security kind of thing, or to the crowd. I'm sorry, to the performers, to the wrestlers, most of the time. And I was just dying laughing. I was like, everything was happening. I was just shaking my head. I was like, and the crowd was just like, eats it a lot. Like the crowd dies to be a wrestling crowd. Like, I don't even know if they like wrestling, but they all want to be a wrestling crowd. It's like they're their own character. And I was like,
Mhm.
what the hell is happening here? This is fantastic. I think, yeah, what those guys do are super impressive. Super impressive. I always would love to be a part of that stuff.
Yeah, we did see each other in New Texas this past Sunday
That's right.
during Pride and Joy. What was it like, at least just watching the show, and you see Dan, you see Trent, you see Walker. I mean, Eric's with you at that time too. What was it like seeing something different than what you usually do over at APW, just as a viewer?
Yeah, I mean, I like, well, one, getting to see the boys anywhere else is always nice.
Yeah.
Getting to see the boys backstage is always nice. Getting to know everybody else and all these other promotions is nice. And every now and then I'll be walking around and somebody will be Mac Monday. I was just like,
That's cool.
Here's a sticker. Yeah, it's so cool, man. It's so cool. And Eric, I think he does the pre-show up there. So I get to go up there and just kind of chat with him a bit, remind him he's my best friend. And I mean, I think the indie pro scene in Texas is just absolutely through the roof right now. I've gone to the Waco one too, which is
Heart of Texas.
Heart of Texas, which is a fun one. I think that's a pretty good one. Pretty straight show, good stuff. And one of the things I do like about PW and Slam Portal, and nobody else really does it because it's not traditional, is you do hear the announcers, and so you could get to know the announcers. So I rarely show up to these things and get to know the announcers, unless I've met them before somehow, because they're just busy talking, like we are quietly in the back, at AAPW. You don't get to meet us until afterwards. And I try to meet everybody I can, but I've never seen anything I'm not impressed with. I really want to go up to Dallas. Everybody keeps telling me about that one, and I know Lou and the boys keep going up there a lot.
MPX, I have yet to go to a show too, but the only one I went to wasn't really Texas based. It's Martinez. They did Lucha Libre.
Okay.
On occasion. So like I have yet to see MPX. I have yet to see DFW All Pro and Dragon Slayer wrestling too. So like the scene is very varied. The scene is varied, but like it's still wrestling at the end of the day, and the tastes are very, very different for everyone. But everyone will like something, everyone won't. But that's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's a lot to do, a lot to go off of, which is, I think, one of the best parts about the business. Every time I travel, I look to see if there's a wrestling promotion going into some town. Even if I'm in like Spain or something, I'm like, there's got to be something nearby. And I've yet to like really make one out of the country, but I'm like, one of these days I will. I'm going up to Vermont later on this month. But I was like, that was one of the first things I was looking at, and I was like, well, if it's not there, it's probably
What's
Montreal.
The wrestling scene like?
I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm curious, but it can't be too different.
Yeah, it's just I think our scene in general, it's just it's big enough that a lot of the nation does take notice, and a lot of the guys who are in WWE or AEW do come from Texas. So like it's big, but to see something small, I mean, like I went to SummerSlam and I saw GCW, and
cool.
I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing, and that was the Indie God versus Indie God match between Shotzi and Matt Cardona. And I'm like, wow, cool. It's completely different compared to here. But again, it's just our state is big enough for the scene to take notice that it wouldn't take away from the other smaller promotions, but to see them, let's say in Vermont, you'll have a wonderful time because like it's a different scene altogether.
Yeah. There's not like 8 promotions in Vermont, There can't be. It's too small. And I'm sure Montreal's got a really interesting scene as well, It's everywhere, man. It's an international language.
Yep. So, but this is great. This was fun, and
take it home, brother. Take it home.
We exactly. So we talk a lot like past like the shows, and I had the privilege of ring announcing. And one thing I'll say this too is you've been very positive with everyone that you work with at APW. And some of the advice stuck to me to the point where I'm using stuff for when I host on the podcast. There was one advice that's it's like, just keep going, just keep pushing. And it's like, it was one of the shows where like I was off. Like I will admit it. And it's the nerves came, but like you mentioned after the show, just keep going, just keep doing what you're doing. And even though I took off to focus on the podcast here, that really stuck to me. So I really appreciate just giving the advice to not myself, but the students and everyone who's like really making their case and making their face in the wrestling scene over here in Texas.
Yeah, find a lot of everybody knows what they're doing wrong already. You know,
Yeah.
you rarely find somebody that like didn't know they messed up. So I'm more just focused on the positive, what works. There's always another show, man. There's always another show.
Exactly.
As long as you keep going.
Yeah, because we'll end the conversation here too. So, with the career that you have as a commentator and the life that you've lived so far, what would it be like hanging out with an adolescent you for a day?
Oh man, like if let's say, man, if like 13, I mean, like I can't, I can't remember if you not missing a Monday night for like 6 years, having the friends over. Watching our WCW, I mean, the Attitude Era is just like, I mean, we were such WCW fans, Nitro fans, and such WWF fans, flipping back and forth in that era, eating Papa John pizza and drinking Surge Cola. I mean, like, we're drinking or doing drugs. Like,
throwback.
Yeah, dude. We were like, we were just the nerdiest kids about it, just dropping around and every now and then spearing each other into the couch and like, I think Young Me would be thrilled to be involved, in any sort of level, just involved at all. It's like I just never imagined a world where I could have been involved when I was younger, which is stupid. I mean, I went down and did so much theater and music and stuff like that, and there's so much theater and music in wrestling itself. There's so many things that need to be done in the making of the sport. Like I said, I'm just pleased as punch to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like just to hang out and like what would you impart with him as you are hanging out with him for that day?
I would just tell him, hey, there's wrestling school. Go to wrestling school at 18 years old.
Okay. That's good. It doesn't matter where, you have to start soon.
Gotta go now while you're young and your knees don't hurt.
It would still be in Austin though. It would still be in Austin for sure. Like it would be, I mean, AAPW is right around the corner. Like if you're still in Austin at the time, like that would be that one school that you'd suggest that younger you to be.
Oh, definitely. And those kids, I use the word kids because I'm 44 years old. And some of those guys are like, you're younger than my kid. I have a kid that's 23, younger than my kid. And, man, they're just ready to eat the world, And I'm just like, to be twice their age, I'm just like, give it, you can't tell someone to be patient when they're eager, but it's like, you have the time. Don't worry. Be safe. Don't hurt yourself. And just keep pushing.
Yeah, because it's nice to see that the work that you're doing, it still reverberates with everyone here. And knowing that you've made an impact to so many people, just in APW in general. Maybe some people from outside the school kind of took notice on your commentary and you're like, I can do that. So like to hear that impact being heard from not just the students, but for everyone here in Texas, it's always really appreciated one way or another.
No, man, it's nice of you to say. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, so all right, let's do it. I have nothing left to give. You have the floor. And where can we find you? And there's anything upcoming when this episode drops on the 29th of September?
Yeah, on the 29th. God, I don't have the schedule in front of me. So it's most every Saturday at AAPW, twitch.com, on YouTube, AAPW Wrestling. And then, of course, 1702 Alders Drive. That's the place to see it. It's the place to get Mama's hot dogs. Don't bring glass beer. Bring canned beer. And if you ain't ever gone, you got to go because it's the only way to fall in love with it.
All right. Awesome. So for those who are watching or listening, whether on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for listening in wherever platform you are on. And we will be on to the next one.